The loudest person in the room is often the most fragile. Observe the man who constantly boasts of his achievements. He is not projecting strength, he is begging for recognition. He is a vessel desperately trying to fill its own emptiness with the echoes of his own voice. In our modern era, we are taught that visibility is power. We are told that to be seen is to exist, and to be heard is to matter. But this is a fundamental deception designed to keep you weak. True intimidation does not come from noise. It comes from the presence of something hidden. Think of the ocean. The surface may be turbulent, white-capped, and noisy. Yet the true power of the sea lies in the thousands of feet of silent, crushing pressure beneath. Silence is the weight of the unknown. When you speak, you reveal your boundaries, your fears, and your limitations. When you are silent, people are forced to project their own insecurities onto you. They begin to wonder what you know that they do not. They begin to fear the depth of your thoughts because they cannot see the bottom. Intimidation is not about being a bully or a loudmouthed aggressor. It is about possessing a quiet, unshakable gravity that pulls others into your orbit. It is the realization that you do not need their validation to sustain your own reality. If you have ever felt overlooked, misunderstood, or treated as an afterthought, it is likely because you are giving too much of yourself away. Your words have become cheap currency because they are in infinite supply. Today, we begin the process of devaluing your noise and inflating your presence. We will explore the psychological mechanics of the silent strategist. We will dissect why the world fears the man who can sit alone in a room and say nothing. By the end of this journey, you will understand that silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of total self-mastery. It is the ultimate tool for those who wish to walk through the world with an invisible yet undeniable authority.
The root of the problem is a psychological leak that most people never bother to plug. We live in a culture of oversharing, a digital panopticon where every thought is broadcasted. This creates a reality where privacy is seen as suspicious and silence is interpreted as a void. But why do you feel the need to fill the air with sound? It is because silence is a mirror. When the room goes quiet, you are forced to face the internal dialogue you have been trying to drown out. Most people cannot stand their own company, so they use noise as a sedative. This translates into social settings as a desperate need to be liked or understood. When you over-explain your actions, you are essentially asking for permission to exist. You are signaling to the world that your internal compass is not enough. You need the compasses of others to verify your direction. This makes you predictable. And what is predictable is never intimidating. Intimidation requires a degree of mystery, a tactical gap between what you think and what you reveal. The economic reality of our attention economy is that information is only valuable when it is scarce. By speaking constantly, you are flooding the market with your own thoughts, effectively driving your social value to zero. You become a known quantity, a solved puzzle. People stop paying attention to you because they already know what you're going to say before you say it. This lack of mystery leads to a lack of respect. You are viewed as a tool to be used rather than a force to be reckoned with. You've become an open book in a world that only values the secrets behind locked doors. The hidden issue is that your constant talking is a defense mechanism against being truly seen. You use a wall of words to hide the fact that you are afraid of being judged for who you actually are. But the irony is that by talking so much, you reveal your fear more clearly than silence ever could. You are showing the world exactly where your buttons are. You are handing over the map to your own insecurities. Until you learn to sit with the discomfort of being misunderstood, you will always be a slave to the opinions of others. You will remain a noisy ghost, haunting the periphery of true power.
The first core insight you must internalize is that silence is a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum.
In social dynamics, the person who speaks less creates a psychological space that others feel a desperate need to fill. When you stop talking, others begin to ramble. In their rambling, they reveal their true intentions, their weaknesses, and their secrets. This is a technique used by the highest level interrogators and negotiators. They don't grill the subject. They simply ask a short question and then wait. The silence becomes heavy, almost physical. The subject, uncomfortable with the tension, begins to offer more information than they ever intended. By practicing silence, you shift the burden of the social interaction onto the other person. You become the observer, and they become the performer. Think of the predator in the wild. The tiger does not roar while it is hunting. It moves in absolute silence, blending into the tall grass, invisible until the moment it chooses to strike. Its power is amplified by its invisibility. In the real world, this looks like the executive who sits at the head of the board table, listening to his subordinates argue for an hour. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't offer opinions. He collects data. He watches the body language, the micro-expressions, and the alliances formed. By the time he finally speaks, he has the complete map of the situation. His few words carry the weight of an entire hour of observation. This is the law of scarcity applied to human interaction. When your words are rare, they are treated as gold. When they are common, they are treated as dust. You must learn to view your voice as a finite resource. Every time you speak without a clear purpose, you are wasting capital. Silence is your vault. It protects your internal world and forces others to own the right to know your thoughts. This builds an aura of high status because only those who are confident in their own value can afford to be quiet.
The second core insight is that your silence is your fortress against emotional manipulation. Most people react to the world like a set of programmed machines. If someone insults them, they get angry. If someone praises them, they get happy. They are entirely predictable, which means they are entirely controllable. When you become silent and stoic in the face of provocation, you break the machine. You deny the other person the reaction they are looking for. Imagine someone trying to start a fire in a room made of stone. They can strike matches all day, but if there is no fuel, there will be no flame. Your silence is that stone wall. By not reacting, you demonstrate that the other person's words do not have the power to penetrate your internal reality. This is deeply intimidating to a manipulator because it suggests that you operate on a higher level of consciousness. It suggests that you possess a secret source of strength that they cannot touch. This is the counterintuitive truth. The less you react, the more power you have. In a conflict, the person who loses their temper first is the person who has lost the fight. They have surrendered their logic to their emotions. But the silent observer remains cool. They see the anger for what it is, a sign of weakness and lack of control. This psychological detachment allows you to see the chess pieces clearly, while the other person is blinded by their own frustration. Intimidation is the byproduct of total self-possession. It is the aura of a man who cannot be moved unless he chooses to move. This is why silence is often perceived as a threat. It is the threat of a calm mind in a chaotic world. It is the refusal to play a game that you did not agree to. When you master your reactions, you become the master of every room you enter. People will begin to tread carefully around you, not because they fear you will explode, but because they fear they cannot predict you. And nothing is more intimidating to the human mind than the unpredictable. The final insight is the climax of this psychological reality. Silence is the shadow of the sword. In the philosophy of the integrated shadow, a man is not truly virtuous unless he has the capacity for violence, but chooses to keep it restrained. A rabbit is not peaceful, it is simply harmless. A lion that chooses to lie down with the lamb is peaceful because it has the power to destroy the lamb, but decides not to. Silence is how you signal that you are the lion. If you are always nice, always talking, and always trying to please, you are perceived as the rabbit. You are safe, and therefore you are ignored.
But the man who is silent but attentive conveys a sense of hidden capability. It is the calm before the storm effect. When you don't reveal your hand, people assume you are holding the strongest cards. The severe consequence of ignoring this reality is that you will live your life as a victim of the too nice syndrome. You will be walked over, talked over, and pushed aside in every arena of life, from your career to your relationships. People do not respect those they can easily understand and control. By becoming silent and intimidating, you are not becoming a bad person.
You are becoming a formidable person. You are reclaiming the territory of your own soul. You are signaling to the world that you are a force that must be negotiated with, not a resource to be consumed. If you continue to leak your energy through constant chatter, you will eventually find yourself hollowed out. You will have given away so much of yourself that there is nothing left at the core. The silence you cultivate today is the armor you will wear tomorrow. It is the bridge between being a man who is pushed by the world and a man who moves the world. Remember, the greatest weapon you possess is not your tongue, but your presence. Let your silence do the heavy lifting. Let your absence of noise speak volumes. Become the mountain that does not need to explain why it is high. Become the deep water that does not need to prove it is dangerous. Step into the quiet and find the power that has been waiting for you in the shadows.
The human mind is biologically wired to fear what it cannot map. In the ancient savanna, a rustle in the grass was a threat, but total silence was an omen of a predator waiting for the perfect strike. When you become a person of few words, you tap into this primal, deep-seated psychological discomfort. Most people speak to fill the void, driven by an anxious need to be liked, understood, or acknowledged. By withholding your speech, you refuse to provide the feedback loop that others rely on to gauge your intentions. Psychologically, this creates a vacuum. In the absence of your words, the other person's mind begins to project its own insecurities onto the canvas of your silence. They wonder if you are judging them, if you know a secret they don't, or if you are simply unimpressed by their displays. This is the mirror effect. Your silence reflects their inner chaos back at them, forcing them to confront their own lack of composure. Human nature dictates that we seek patterns and predictability. A silent man is a variable that cannot be solved. You become an enigma, a puzzle that occupies their thoughts long after the conversation has ended. They begin to treat you with caution, not because you are aggressive, but because you are unknown. The intimidating nature of silence is not found in a threat of violence, but in the threat of the invisible. When you stop performing for others, they lose the power to direct your narrative. In the theater of human interaction, the one who does not follow the script is the only one truly in control. You are not just being quiet, you are exerting a gravitational pull that demands they adjust their orbit around you. This psychological leverage is the foundation of true, unshakable presence. It is the realization that your internal world is so vast and grounded that you have no need to leak its contents into the air. When you understand this, you stop reacting to the world and start allowing the world to react to you.
There is an elephant in the room that modern society refuses to acknowledge. Our obsession with voice has made us weak. We are told from birth that we must speak our truth and make ourselves heard at every possible moment. But here is the rare insight that the masters of power have always known. The more you speak, the more common you appear. Exclusivity is the mother of value. If your words are available to everyone at all times, they are worth nothing. True intimidation comes from the realization that you do not need the world's validation to exist. Most people are validation junkies, constantly checking the faces of others to see if their last sentence landed correctly. When you break this cycle, you are performing an act of social rebellion. You are signaling that your internal compass is stronger than the collective opinion of the group. This is why silence is so unsettling to the modern ego.
It suggests that you have a secret source of strength that they cannot access. Society tries to shame the silent by calling them cold or antisocial, but this is merely a defense mechanism. They are trying to bait you back into the noise, where they feel safe. If they can make you talk, they can categorize you. If they can categorize you, they can dismiss you. But as long as you remain silent, you remain uncategorizable, and therefore superior in the hierarchy of attention. You are the black swan in a world of white noise. The hidden truth is that people aren't actually afraid of your silence. They are afraid of what your silence says about their insignificance. You are proving that you can survive, thrive, and remain dominant without needing a single word of approval from them. This is the ultimate form of self-sovereignty. It is the quiet realization that the loud are merely performing, while the silent are observing the performance.
How do you apply this without appearing awkward or robotic? It begins with the 3-second rule of the Stoics. When someone asks you a question, or when it is your turn to speak, wait exactly 3 seconds before opening your mouth. In those 3 seconds, maintain soft but steady eye contact. This small gap of time creates a bridge of tension that the other person must cross. It signals that you are processing information, not just reacting to it. Next, practice the economic sentence. Cut your verbal output by 50%. If you can say it in 10 words, say it in 5. If you can say it in 5, say nothing at all and simply nod. Watch how people scramble to fill the silence you've created. You will notice they start over-explaining themselves, revealing their own weaknesses and hidden agendas. In the realm of finance and negotiation, this is a lethal weapon.
The first person to speak after a proposal is usually the one who loses the leverage. Control your breath. An intimidating presence is never short of breath. Deep, diaphragmatic breathing keeps your heart rate low and your voice resonant. A high-pitched, fast-paced voice signals a lack of status. A low, slow, and deliberate tone signals a man who is in no rush because he owns the time he is in. Physically, adopt a posture of open stillness. Avoid fidgeting, touching your face, or shifting your weight. Be like a mountain, immovable and unbothered by the wind. When you do speak, let your words be final. Do not use uptalk where your sentences sound like questions. State your reality as an absolute fact, then stop. This is how you train the world to listen when you finally decide to break your silence.
As you master this discipline, you will notice a profound shift in the fabric of your reality. The world begins to treat you differently. You will find that you no longer have to fight for a seat at the table. A space is naturally cleared for you. People will start to seek your counsel, believing that because you speak so little, what you do say must be of immense value. This is the transformation from a seeker to a source. Your internal state becomes a fortress. The insults, the drama, and the petty anxieties of others will bounce off your silence like pebbles off a shield. You will experience a sense of profound clarity. When you are not constantly talking, you are finally able to see.
You see the micro-expressions people miss, the hidden motives in their words, and the opportunities that the loudmouthed overlook. Your relationships will change. Those who are shallow will be intimidated and drift away, while those who are deep and meaningful will be drawn to your steadiness. You are no longer a leaf blown by the wind of social opinion. You have become the wind itself, quiet, invisible, but capable of moving mountains. This transformation is not just about how others see you, but about how you see yourself. You will feel a new kind of self-respect growing in your chest. You have conquered the most difficult enemy of all, your own impulse to seek approval. In this state of quiet power, you realize that true intimidation is not about making people fear you, but about making them respect the boundary of your soul. You are now a person of weight. Your presence has mass, and the world must now account for you in every calculation.
In the end, becoming silent but intimidating
is not a trick of social engineering. It is a return to your natural state of power. It is the realization that you were never meant to be a background noise in someone else's life. You were meant to be the architect of your own silence. We have explored the psychology, the insights, and the practical steps to claim this mantle. But the journey does not end here. It begins every time you choose to hold your tongue when you feel the urge to complain. It begins every time you maintain eye contact when you feel the urge to look away. It begins every time you decide that your internal peace is more important than an external reaction. Remember, the world is loud because it is insecure. Be the exception. Be the calm in the center of the storm. Be the man whose presence is felt long before his voice is heard. If you found value in this philosophy, show your strength through your actions, not just your words. Subscribe to this channel to join our community of those who walk the path of self-mastery. Leave a single word in the comments that represents your focus for this year. Then, leave the rest to silence. Go forth and let your stillness do the talking. The world is waiting for someone who knows how to listen. Thank you for watching, and may your silence be your greatest strength. Until we meet again in the quiet.